Brian asks, what are your thoughts on the canonizations of St. Carlo Acutis and Pier Giorgio Frassati? They were just recently canonized on the 7th of September. Do you feel like this is becoming watered down, like when a baseball team starts retiring too many numbers? What do you think about that, Father?
That's a good question. I think there's a lot of ways to think about this, and some people have some good questions, particularly about St. Carlo Acutis, because he's so young and his death was so recent. Was perhaps this process a little bit rushed? With St. Pier Giorgio Frassati, I don't know that we could say the same thing. He's been gone for a while now. He certainly did some extraordinary things in his life and his Catholic worker movement and caring for the poor. I like the fact that we're being reminded that it's possible for an ordinary person to be a saint, that sanctity is not something that is beyond the reach of all of us. I was having a discussion last night with a number of people from our community, and someone said, I don't think it's possible for you to show true agape love, true self-giving love in this life. And I was a little disheartened when I heard that, because I'm like, no, this is why we have saints, that it is possible to master virtue in this life, that there are those who please God will go straight to heaven without having to be cleansed of their own earthly attachments by the fires of purgatory. And that should be something for which we all are aiming. Now, unfortunately, the Holy See did not call me and ask me to be on the team for examining the cause of either St. Pier Giorgio Frassati or St. Carlo Acutis. They didn't, Rudy, they didn't call me. They didn't ask for my input. So I have no direct inside knowledge to all the particular fine details of the case surrounding these people. I've read a lot about them. I prayed at both of their tombs. I was very blessed that I was doing a personal pilgrimage in Italy once, and I didn't even realize that Pier Giorgio, who's someone I've had a devotion to since I was a younger guy myself, that he's buried there at the cathedral in Turin. And so I walked in the cathedral in Turin, wanted to go see the Holy Shroud, and the first thing I see is Pier Giorgio, and get to spend some time praying at his tomb. And then I did a parish pilgrimage to Italy this summer, and we spent time there, and we spent time with Carlo Acutis. And I spent a lot of time at Carlo Acutis' tomb. And what was amazing is, as I sat there for a while praying, a lot of my first trip there, a lot of young people were coming in. I think there had been some kind of schools that had taken people to Assisi that day, some Italian schools. And I was getting a little annoyed because a lot of, young people, and especially maybe 13 to 11 to 15-year-old girls were coming in, and they were being kind of like young people are. They weren't maybe showing as much reverence or didn't have the outward piety that I'd like them to be displayed. And I'm sitting there being kind of my alter ego that I call Father Grumpy Pants. And Father Grumpy Pants was kind of sitting back and say, oh, this is so annoying. And then I stopped and I said, Grumpy Pants, don't you understand that this is why this young man is here? So that these young people can be drawn to holiness, that they can be. So it might start as just curiosity with them, but that's a tool that God can use to make these young people saints, to make these young people holy, to make these young people see what was it about Carlo Acutis that was so special, what drew him, what made him different. So rather than being kind of salty and saying, oh, it's easy to be a saint now, I don't think so. I don't think that that's the message that's being sent here, but the message that is being sent to us, and it should be sent to us, and this is what all the saints attest to, is that holiness is available to everyone. I think Mother Angelica, someone who I think cause we should be looking at for canonization, by the way, I think she once said that everyone who writes a saint's biography should have extra time in purgatory, because she says we have a habit to kind of polish them up and make them look too unrealistic or too inaccessible. Instead, we need to hear more about their humanity so that we can see that there's hope for the rest of us.
Wow, that is, I mean, I think you hit it right on the head. You know, some of the feelings that I was having too, and I'm sure I've read about this too. A lot of people are kind of having the same reaction to it. So I'm glad you mentioned agape, an example of agape love, people giving themselves, like really, really giving themselves out of love for God. I will say, Pier Giorgio Frassati has the coolest picture of him just kind of climbing a mountain. And there's also another one where he's at the summit with a pipe. That's pretty inspiring. You know, in an age of absconding fathers, when you look at people like this who just appear to have their life put together and they feel strong and it's a strong male inspiration, that's really cool. It's a great thing for young people. So,
good masculine virtue. One thing I feel important to say about Pier Giorgio Frassati is when he was beatified in St. Peter's Square, when they released the image of him that they were going to show at his beatification. It was an image of him that he had when he had a pipe in his hand, and they had airbrushed out the pipe. And when St. John Paul II saw that, he was upset and actually told him, "No, you put that back in."
There's a funny story about St. Pius X. His feast day was on the 3rd of September, and it was recorded by the Devil's Advocate that one of the reasons that they shouldn't canonize him was because he smoked tobacco. And I think even before that, I think he might have used snuff too, or maybe that was Pope Leo the 13th. But it's funny, they wanted to remove any sort of reference to that thing. But I don't think, I mean, they're not inherently vices if you smoke tobacco here and there. If you smoke it every day and you just are addicted, that's a completely different thing. But that's funny about the pipe with Pier Giorgio Frassati.